Hello everyone. In today's session, we are going to have a brief discussion on the topic whose name is architecture in VHDL language. Okay. So, in the previous sessions, or in the previous session, we have discussed about what? We have discussed about NT and what we have discussed in case of entity. If you guys are having any issues, then you can check up my previous video. I'm just giving a short description in this video about entity. What we have seen in case of entity defines that what will be my input output port, or what will be the specifications of my input output port while writing while writing my VHDL language. What we have seen till the entity part, what my compiler is making. Suppose I am having a two input and one output system. Till my entity part, what my compiler is understanding that suppose there are two inputs and there is one output. Suppose I am giving this block name to be xxx. This is I am naming to be A, this one is I am naming to be B, and this one I am naming to be C. So till my entity part, what my compiler is understanding. Till the entity part, my compiler is understanding that there will be a block like this where A and B will be my input and C will be my output. But when I like in the previous example, I have taken the example of an AND gate. We know that our AND gate will be looking somewhat like this, right? Our AND gate will be looking somewhat like this, and this will be one input, this will be another input, this will be the output. So how to direct my compiler so that it will make this diagram, or it will give the outputs for particularly this diagram, from this diagram. So by the help of architecture, we are telling my compiler that what will be the architecture or how my entity block is going to function. Okay, I'm telling it properly. Till the end, suppose we want to make a AND gate and gate, right? So one minute. So till my entity part, my compiler is making this block A, B, C, and it is giving the name to be AND gate. And if someone is having issue in understanding that how this AND gate my compiler is making, he or she can very well check my previous video. And now this one is done by what? This one is done by the entity statement. Now from this block to this block, A and B and C, how this block is coming? This block is coming by the help of architecture. I am writing in short. This block is coming by the help of architecture. So now we have to see that what will be basically my syntax for writing an architecture. Keep one thing in your mind, guys. For writing any sort of VHDL language, my entity description will always be my first step, and my architecture description is always going to be my second step. Okay, so I'm writing the syntax for this, guys. 1 minute. Right. So as I have taken the example of an AND gate, so I'm writing the entity and architecture for the AND gate only. Okay. So from the previous lecture, we have learned that how we are going to design an AND gate. I am not repeating that. Okay. Entity and then entity name, which I'm going to name as AND gate is, and then I have to give the port description as if A comma B, then semicolon, and then N std logic, and then this, and again I'm giving the output port's name to be C, and then a semicolon, and then out, and then std standard logic, and then closing this, and then again O, and I'm closing this with a bracket, and then what, then and entity name. Okay, so till this part we have already discussed in my previous video that till this part what my compiler is making. Till this part the first step is done by my compiler. Now for making from this block to this block, what my compiler is doing, from for making from this part to this part, I have to write my architecture. Okay, so the syntax for that will be architecture and then I have to give the name of my particular architecture. Suppose I am giving it to be gates, okay, of, and then again we have to write, and then again we have to describe our entity name and gate. So guys, see, after defining my entity, in the next part we are defining our architecture. What is happening in our architecture, guys? In our architecture, at first, after writing architecture, we have to give a particular name to my architecture of AND gate. AND gate means, so what is the thing happening here? Architecture, then we are giving some architecture name of, then again we are giving, or we are calling the entity name here, which is AND gate, that I have already mentioned in the above example. Is, and then enter, then begin, comma, and then I'm writing it to be C greater than equal to, as I am making a AND gate, and I have given the input to be A and B and C to be my output port. So I am assigning my A and B output to C. Here basically guys, this symbol denotes my, or this symbol is known as my assign symbol. Here, by the help of this, what we are doing, by the help of this, whatever will be the output of A and B, that will be basically assigned to my variable C, right? And then again, after writing this step, we have to end my architecture. So for ending my architecture, what we have to do, we have to write end, and then what the architecture we have given the name to be gate, right? So after writing this step, what my compiler is doing, like till this step, my compiler was basically making this block. Okay, till this much, my compiler was making this block. And after defining the architecture, like after writing these steps, what my compiler is doing, my compiler has now understood that what I want to do with this block, right? My compiler has understood that the programmer wants to give the instruction to make the compiler to be a gate which looks like this, right? And then again, guys, this statement I am telling to be like, if we want to wish to make a AND gate, then we have to take the input first, and then we have to write and then we have to give the second input, and we have to basically assign it to our output. Now, if you guys might also ask that, what if I want to draw a OR gate? So not an issue. We can simply put here OR, right? Guys might also ask, what if we want to make an XOR gate? So that will also not be an issue. We can simply write A XOR B out here. So whatever we are writing here, the compiler is taking my A input, my compiler is taking my B input. It is basically doing this operation, whatever we are giving, and that output is assigned to my C variable, right? After writing my architecture steps. Understood? So today, guys, I am going to show you the practical thing, like how this thing is happening in my Vivado software. Okay, so this is my Vivado software, and I have already written the program. So here you people can see that I have given, or I have defined my entity name to be simple gates out here. Okay, and in the next line I have defined my input output ports, where I have given the A and B to be in standard logic and C to be the out standard logic. And then I have again ended my entity portion, and from the next line I have started to write the architecture portion. So what I have done in the architecture portion, I have given the name variable to my architecture. So here, what is the name of my architecture? The name of my architecture here is behavioral of simple gates is. So basically what the syntax that we are getting out from here, we have to write architecture first, and then we have to give some name to my architecture of, and then entity name, and then is. So after writing this step, we have to start writing from begin. So what I have done in the begin statement, I have simply given my two inputs which I have already defined in my entity, which were A and B, and what function I want to perform with my A and B inputs. I want to do basically the XOR of my A and B. And in the entity portion, what we can see that I have defined the output port to be C. So basically I am assigning the XOR of A and B to be C by the help of this assign function. And then in the next step, what I have done, I have basically ended my architecture by writing end behavioral. So you guys just see that this is basically the diagram of my AND gate. And here, after writing, sorry, 1 minute. Hmm, I am making it to be AND gate so that it will be easy for you guys. AND gate. Okay. And I have saved this. It will take some time. And after saving that, if I am just doing the or making the design for this, just check that what the output is coming. It will take some time. So guys, see that what we have gone out here, what we have got here, we are basically getting the architecture of an AND gate. You guys can see, no? Like we are having two inputs which were A and B that I have defined already. And here is my output C that I have also defined. And the A and B output are working as an AND function, and the output of my AND gate is coming to be in C. So we have understood what we have understood till here. From the entity portion, we are telling the compiler that I will be having two inputs or three inputs or four inputs, that doesn't matter. Or I am telling the compiler that I have one output, I have two output, I have three output, that also doesn't matter. From the architecture portion, what we are doing, we are telling the compiler that basically what kind of an operation that I want to do with the help of those input output ports. Okay, so basically this was my program for doing the AND of A input and B input, which will be assigned, whose output will be assigned to C. So this basically, you can see that my compiler has now understood that what I actually wanted to do by the help of my A and B. So I think guys, you have understood now that for writing basically an VHDL program, what are the two necessary or basic steps that we need to understand so that we can very well easily do the programs. With the one will be entity and the second one will be architecture. So in my next lectures guys, or in my next sessions, I am going to tell you guys that how we can design different types of gates, like we can design AND gates, like we can design OR gates, we can design XOR gates, whatever the gates we want to design. Just by following these two basic steps, we can design any kind of gates, right? So in my next session, I am just going to discuss that how we are going to make this kind of gates by the help of these two basic steps. So that's all for today guys. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe, because the support is really needed. And thanks for watching the video.